Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10 and support the channel at the same time. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. Big week for Commander, as you could imagine. Commander 2018 decks came out last week, and a lot of players have been scrambling to pick up cards to upgrade those decks. You're definitely going to see the prices reflected in the secondary market. We'll talk about that today. Also, in Standard, we saw a ton of diversity last weekend at GP Orlando, GP Brussels. A lot of people excited about that format too. Just a lot going on. Quickly before we get into it, just a fast reminder, if you check out the description below, you'll find a few ways to help support what we do here at the channel. Our Patreon page is linked down there. You're also going to find links to products on Amazon. If you make any purchases on Amazon, once you go through that first link, no matter what it is, we'll get a small percentage for the channel. And also Flipside Gaming still offering a promo code for our viewers, so check that out. Hopefully you can save some cash while you support the channel. As always, thank you not only to the folks that look at those links, but to all the viewers. Y'all make the channel what it is. I appreciate each and every one of you. And with that being said, let's get into it. We're going to begin with the top 5 standard legal cards that have lost value this week. Number 5, Rekindling Phoenix, down $1 to $25.99. Now, this card sees a ton of play. Red-black aggro decks, of course, have been very popular. All different variants of mono red aggro decks have been very popular. So why is this going down? Simply because there's no surprise here. This has been putting up big results ever since it has entered Standard. That's not changing. It's not going to change. Rotation's going to happen. Things will get shaken up a little bit, but this card won't go away, even post-rotation. Standard players know this card's good. They own their copies. They're not giving up their copies, but they're also not buying copies. They don't need to. So that's why you're seeing this card stay relatively stable, even though it is seeing a lot of play. Number 4 is Karn, Sign of Urza, down $1.09 to $32.84. And says more packs have been open now of Dominaria. This card has stabilized down pretty nicely. I do think it will settle in around $30, at least for the short term. Karn's still seeing a ton of play. In Standard, maybe not as much as he once was. You'll find this in the mono blue artifact decks, for example, which haven't been putting up huge results or anything, but it's been a popular deck. There's a lot of fans of that deck out there, regardless of how it's been performing. Also, of course, the Turbo Fog deck is running Karn. Although, you will notice a lot of the versions that are doing well are running like 1 or 2 copies as opposed to like 3 or 4 copies, which we saw at the beginning. So Karn is starting to feel like he's less vital to that deck than maybe people once thought when they first were testing. So we'll have to kind of see where that ends up in the long run. But Karn's true appeal has been Legacy and Modern. I mean, he's been all over the place, from Modern Affinity decks to Legacy Prison decks and Eldrazi decks. And that's why I think Karn's holding the value that he is holding and hasn't dropped even further. It's because of the formats outside of Standard. So this is one we'll continue to watch. I do think this gets better post-rotation because the amount of cards you're able to play with is a lot smaller. Thus, the stronger cards are going to shine even more. Number 3 is Sarkhan Fireblood, down $1.12 to $18.50. In Standard this week, this card saw a little bit less play. It's still hanging around in some of the Grixis mid-range builds that are running dragons or some of the dragon decks, although they're not as popular as they were a couple weeks ago, so that's why you're seeing the downshift here. However, the excitement around this card for me is more about what it's doing in Modern. I mean, the Scred Dragon deck came in first place a few weeks ago at the Star City Games Modern Classic in Philadelphia. That's pretty crazy, and of course this was a key part of that deck. There's mono red prison decks running this in Modern that look pretty good. So again, I do think this is a card that has big implications for outside of Standard, and post-rotation perhaps we'll see more play as well within the Standard format. So this is another one to keep an eye on long term. Number 2, Tezzeret Artifice Master, and this is going down $1.19 to $14.68 this week. Key part of that mono blue artifact deck, but the fact that it's not putting up huge results is going to hold this card back a little bit. Number 1, of course, Nexus of Fate, down $4.54 to $32.24. So this card had tons of hype around it a couple weeks ago. That Turbo Fog deck just kind of came out of nowhere at the Pro Tour and took the world by storm. Caused a lot of controversy, of course, because Nexus of Fate was a card that was a buy box promo. However, since then, cooler heads have prevailed. People have calmed down a little bit. The hype has subsided. And because of that, the price is also rescinded. A few things going on here. First off, I think it helped a lot that a week ago, Mark Rosewater came out and said that so many copies of this were distributed to stores. There's actually more copies of this than any other Mythic in Magic 2019. That helped eliminate the psychological I don't want to miss out factor that was going on behind this card, that a lot of people were just deciding they wanted to buy play sets of it just in case. Even if they don't want to play Turbo Fog, they might want to play something in the next meta. So they just wanted to shell out money and get the card before it was too late, before it went to some crazy price. We've gotten past all that now. This card will continue to go down some more. And a lot of this will also depend on how well Turbo Fog does going forward. Came in 4th place at GP Brussels this weekend. Deck still got legs. We'll have to see what happens post-rotation. Alright, let's move to the top 5 standard legal cards that have gained value this week. Coming in number 5, Vivian Reed at 42 cents to 8.97. She was all over the place at the 2 GPs, actually, if you look at the top 8s. I mean, not 4 ofs, but like 1 ofs, 2 ofs, sometimes out of the sideboard, sometimes one on the main, one on the board. She was all over, though. Stompy decks are running her, Constrictor decks running her, Godfarrow's Gift decks running her. She was in a lot of different places. I do think post-rotation, she could be even better. I do think green is positioned very well this fall. Number 4, Carnage Tyrant, up 74 cents to 17.99. This card's been quiet lately, but it goes up this week because you do find this in Turbo Fog decks a lot of times out of the sideboard. It's typically like a 2 of. Number 3, Commit to Memory, up $1.12 to $2.44 this week, although this is approaching rotation, so it had a great week, but I do think this is rather temporary. You're going to find this all over the place actually right now, much like Vivian, not necessarily 4 ofs, but sometimes a 1 or 2 of in certain builds. It's just in a number of different ones. You'll find this in control decks, you're going to find this in Grixis midrange, you'll find it in Simic Stompy, you could even find it in the Mono Blue Artifact deck. Not all the time, but it does show up quite a bit in all of those builds. Number 2, Psy Master Thopterist, up $1.50 to $4.45. This is truly a renaissance man right here because he is all over the place as well. You'll find him in standard in the Mono Blue Artifact decks. Like I mentioned, they are inconsistent, but a lot of people are still playing them. Modern, this even showed up at the Pro Tour a couple weeks ago in Ben Stark's deck that came in 2nd place in the team trios. He was playing Ironworks combo with 3 of these in the sideboard. I've seen this show up in some other sideboards in Modern as well, sometimes just a 1 of, but we'll have to see if that sustains. And maybe the biggest reason this is moving this week is because of Commander 2018, the Exquisite Invention deck. This is an awesome upgrade for that particular build. Number 1, Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, up $3.90 this week to $40. Wow. So Teferi still climbing. The big appeal for me with this card is Modern again. It's doing amazing things in Modern control builds. Great, of course, in standard control builds. And most recently, Turbo Fog has showed up, which of course runs 4 of this as well. So with that additional deck thrown into all the other success this card has been seeing, the card has gotten hot yet again. I do think it could go up even a little more before it finally stabilizes, maybe settling down around $42, $45. All right, let's move on to the top 5 modern legal cards that have lost value this week. Coming in at number 5 is Engineered Explosives from 5th Dawn, the original, down $2.64 to $99.99. Nothing really amazing here. I mean, the card has been sticking around the $100 price point. I don't see that changing until eventually it gets reprinted somewhere. And we say it every week, key part of Ironworks combo, but also a big part of so many sideboards in Modern and Legacy. Number 4, the original Mox Opal from Scars of Mirrodin, down $3.04 to $106.95, very similar to the previous card. Just been hanging around this price point, $105, $110 for a long time. It's not going to really change all that much until eventually there's a reprint. The key driver for this maybe is Ironworks combo. Most recently, a lot of people are trying to build that deck, but remember, this is in so many key decks like Affinity, for example, in Modern. Number 3 is Marsh Flats from Modern Masters 2017, down $3.44 to $41.43. This has been steadily increasing, so it could have been a little overdue for an adjustment. That might be what you're seeing here. However, this is still a big part of just so many decks. I mean, Mardu Pyromancer is a real notable one in Modern, although you could argue maybe that's seeing a little bit less play recently, considering all the diversity right now in that format. But this is also a key part of many, many Legacy mana bases. I do think this could maybe go down a little more, but should stabilize quickly. Number 2, Leyline of the Void, Guild Pack, down $3.30 to $54.49, with Magic 2011 down $3.52 to $52.24. So this card exploded a couple weeks ago, and now you're starting to see that snapback, which is definitely expected. Now, the reason this went up so dramatically is because of Pro Tour 25th Anniversary, the Vegevine deck just exploded on the scene in Modern. It looked amazing, just blistering fast. And Dredge was always a threat that loomed out there, but in recent months, it wasn't as much of a threat. So this card kind of fell off the radar a little bit. Well, when that deck showed up, it was right back on the radar. People were scrambling to get copies. So that deck, of course, runs this in the board to deal with mirror matchups or other dredge matchups. And of course, players running other decks decided it might be a good idea to get copies if they don't have them to have these available for their sideboards because the deck just looks so good. Now, the jury's still out on how good the deck's going to be long-term once people are prepared for it. When it's a surprise, it's very, very good. And it does feel like it could be a contender in this environment just because simply a lot of game ones will be won before you're able to even sideboard this in. So we'll have to kind of see how it goes. If the deck continues to perform well, this will quickly stabilize and maybe go up a little bit. If it starts to fall off and its win percentage some, then this could go down even more. We'll have to watch this one closely. Number 1, Vegevine, down $4.47 to $52. There was so much hype around this card a couple weeks ago. At one point, it was over $90. It was just going crazy. So whenever you see a spike like that, you have to expect there's going to be a strong snapback. That's what we saw here. So it's down to 52. It's not going to go back down to where it was before all the excitement. It's going to probably stabilize maybe closer to the $40, $45 mark for the short term, I would imagine. But of course, this card is going to still be strong going forward until we know how good this Vegevine deck is going to be for sure. All right, let's move on to the top 5 Modern legal cards that have gained value this week. So Modern's a little bit slow this week. You saw some cards losing value. The GPs last weekend were standard GPs. The hype and excitement from the Pro Tour has died down a little bit. So you're going to notice there's some big Modern cards here, but the majority of the cards on the list are actually Commander cards that are Modern legal. They have taken over the list this week because of the excitement around Commander. All right, before we get to our top 5, I have one honorable mention. This is Throne of Geth, up $1.38 to $3.96. This had a pretty nice percentage increase, so I just wanted to point it out to you, and it is a Modern playable card as well as a Legacy playable card. So you'll find this a lot of times as a foil to Chalice of the Void, for example, but Affinity modular decks are running this right now in Modern in the main, so this is one to watch. Number 5 is Groundbreaker, up $5.79 to $9.94, and this plays really well with Collected Company if you've never tried that out, but this has seen a little bit of Modern play. It hasn't put up any huge Modern results or anything recently, so I'm not really sure why this week of all weeks this decided to go up, but I do think it was a little undervalued for a while now. Number 4, Temporal Mastery. Avacyn Restored up $5.01 to $14.99, with Modern Masters 2017 going up $6.30 to $15.32. So the Taking Turns deck is still a thing in Modern. It hasn't gone away or anything like that, and actually still can put up a good result here or there. However, this is really moving because of Commander, specifically the Subjective Reality deck. People are looking at this as an upgrade because they included some great miracles in there, and they totally make sense in that build. This was the biggest one that was missing, though. Kind of a no-brainer upgrade. Number 3, Polluted Bonds, up $7.32 to $18.74. This is a Shadowmoor rare. As a matter of fact, the top 3 cards on our list this week are Shadowmoor rares. So remember, that set had a lower print run, which means when people get interested in a card, it tends to be a little spiky, and that's what you're seeing this week. Polluted Bonds is a great foil to the Nature's Vengeance Commander 2018 deck, but this was a good Commander card well before we ever heard of that deck. As a matter of fact, about a month ago or so, this card was mentioned as an underrated Commander card in the Command Zones podcast. So that started this card moving up, and it's been going up ever since, really. So it has another big week. Number 2, Enchanted Evening, up $9.52 to $32, another Shadowmoor rare. And this is a great upgrade for the Adaptive Enchantment deck from Commander 2018. This card's been very hot for a number of weeks now. And number 1, Wound Reflection, another Shadowmoor rare, up $19.63 to $39.99. Wow, okay. Couple things going on with this card. First off, great upgrade for Subjective Reality because there's some cards this interacts very well with. Sword of Discord is one of them. Skull Storm is another, for example. So there's some good interactions just right there in the box. But maybe the big reason this card's going up, or at least in conjunction with that, is the fact that a lot of people are taking Xantcha out of the Nature's Vengeance deck and building around her. We talked about this a little bit last week, but a lot of times Xantcha will just be the commander, and then you'll have a lot of ways to whittle down your opponent's health, and then cards like this just make it more economical. As a matter of fact, the Command Zone podcast did an episode about that deck a few days ago. Of course, this card was mentioned. That's probably another reason for the increase here. So this card has gotten very hot this week and last week. All right, let's move on to our vintage spotlight, and the unlimited interest is definitely increasing, whether it's a buyout at this point or just people seeing the other buyouts and now just trying to buy unlimited cards. I also think stores could be behind this a little bit. I feel like a lot of stores maybe are at the point where they don't want to deal in alpha beta anymore because it's very expensive and probably doesn't sell all that often. So they're looking at other options, and unlimited was the next option. See, the thing is, when it comes to the core sets, once you get past unlimited, the print runs went up dramatically. Now, there's some high demand cards in Revised, don't get me wrong. You got the Dual Lands, Wheel of Fortune, a few others. However, there's a lot more of those by far than unlimited, and definitely much, much more so when you start talking alpha and beta. So, also with the early expansions, when you're looking at Antiquities, Arabian Nights, Legends, those had very conservative print runs compared to the ones that followed, the Dark, Ice Age, Fallen Empire, so on. So just keep that in mind. My free advice of the day is, I know there are a lot of people, and I get questions all the time about this, that feel like it might be a good idea to just buy up a bunch of Revised cards or a bunch of cards from the Dark. And yeah, there's a few out there that definitely the demand is going to lead to increases over time, no doubt. But don't expect what happened with those other sets, Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, for example, to happen at any time with the Revised, because the print runs are completely different. We're talking about a whole different ball game here when you're looking at how many cards actually exist. So just be careful. Just want to throw that out there. Let's look at the cards. Veteran Bodyguard up $12.33 to $26, of course, from Unlimited. This is on the reserve list, but it was reprinted in Revised, so you can find a cheaper copy if you want to. Had a big percentage increase this week. Counterspell from Unlimited up $21.56 to $46.49. So the rest of the cards we're going to look at today are not on the reserve list. They've all been reprinted. This is just one of them, but again, another pretty big percentage increase. Animate Dead, another example of that, up $28.09 to $34.99 for the Unlimited version. And finally, Unlimited Nightmare up $43.55 to $60. All right, you ready for the Commander Spotlight? Much like the other videos over the past few weeks, I'm going to speed around this. I'm going to go quick. I won't give every gory detail about the card. I'm just going to give some big highlights and tell you what the card's doing, because there's so many of them. So let's go. Realms Uncharted up $1.05 to $5.88. Great upgrade for the Nature's Vengeance deck. The Chain Veil up $1.11 to $19.49. This card has been going down, but has a bounce back week here. And this is good in any commander deck running Planeswalkers, especially if the Planeswalker happens to be your commander. But this is especially good in the Bant Adaptive Enchantment deck, because this can go infinite with Estrid. Herald of Leshrac up $1.27 to $6.79. Another good upgrade for Nature's Vengeance, the Jund Land Matters deck. Vedalken Archmage up $2.51 to $10.47. A lot of people picking this up now to upgrade the Exquisite Invention deck. But this is just a solid card if you play with artifacts just generally. When I did my video talking about upgrades for that particular Commander 2018 deck, I remember saying, wow, this card just feels so undervalued. Well, I guess not anymore. Keldon Firebombers up $3.30 this week to $4.99. Another card that works well in Nature's Vengeance. A lot of folks are looking at upgrades for that particular deck. Now, part of that could be because the deck is a little scattershot as to what it's trying to do out of the box. So it could be leading to more people looking for cards to upgrade that particular deck this week. Exploration up $3.46 to $33.53. Another card that fits in that Nature's Vengeance deck. Also, though, this card does see play in the Legacy Lands deck, which is a popular and successful deck. So maybe that has something to do with it. Also, the Conspiracy version of this card did go up about 50 cents this week. So that does let you know that it isn't just because this particular card got dry in the marketplace, being from Urza's Saga. There's definitely interest in the card itself. Another card for Adaptive Enchantment. It's Sterling Grove up $4.01 to $19.99. This card's been very hot. Fantastic in that deck. Also sees a little Legacy play in Enchantress builds too. Soothsaying up $4.17 to $7.99. And this is perfect for Subjective Reality. Blightsteel Colossus up $4.18 to $41.37. This sees vintage play. However, again, this is moving because of Commander 2018. The Exquisite Invention deck really could use some upgrades that are big win conditions, and this is a perfect one. Transmute Artifact. Now, this is the first of a few cards on the list that maybe is moving because of Commander, maybe it's moving because of other things, but I threw it on this list. This is up $4.98 to $199.95. This is an Antiquities Reserve List card, so maybe it's moving just because of that. This also sees some Legacy play and like Dimir Artifact builds. This is an interesting upgrade for Exquisite Invention, but it's an expensive upgrade, so I don't think there's a lot of people doing that. However, the card's so rare that even if a couple people did that, it could result in a price increase of around $5. So that's why I was a little suspicious that this didn't feel like a normal buyout or something like that. It felt like people are maybe legitimately interested in this card. Perhaps not all that many, but enough to move the needle a little bit. Argothian Enchantress, 2 versions. Urza Saga up 391 to 2149. Eternal Masters up 509 to 2243. Of course, this fits into the Adaptive Enchantment deck, and this also sees a little Legacy play in Enchantress builds as well. Copy Enchantment, again for Adaptive Enchantment, up 562 this week to 1999. Has a pretty big week. Oppression, 2 versions. Urza Saga up 831 to 1449, with the 7th edition one going up 920 to 1099. You could argue that this was undervalued for a while. This is a card that does see Commander play. But probably what drew the attention to it this week was 2 things. One, if you look at the Urza Saga version of the card, there's a quote on there from Xantcha, so hey, flavor win, number 1. But secondly, and maybe more importantly, depending on how you look at it, Nature's Vengeance. This card is great with Lord Windgrace there. You can pitch some lands with this card, get those lands back, and continue that juggle. It just makes sense there. Power Artifact. Okay, this is another one of those cards that maybe it's moving because of Commander. It's up $10 to $184.99. It is an Antiquities Reserve List card. Now, this is good in a few different places. You could put this in your Exquisite Artifact deck if you had the money to do so, which not many of us do. But if you did, that's one option. A lot of people, too, are thinking about using this with the Chain Veil, which does open it up to some other decks, including, of course, Bant's Adaptive Enchantment because of the interaction with Estrid and the Chain Veil. So, a few reasons this could be going up, and again, maybe it's just because it's a reserve list card from Antiquities. Land Equilibrium, this is the last one in our Commander list today, up 1304 to 20302. So this one, I don't know if I would call out for any particular deck other than Stacks. Like Stacks players like this card. It's probably going up because it is a reserve list card from Legends more than anything, but it does see Commander play, so I just wanted to point it out. I mean, could you throw this in like Bant Adaptive Enchantment if you had money to throw around? I guess you could. I don't think it would be horrible there. But I think overall, the people buying this are either collectors or people that are trying to play Stacks. Alright, one card in our Pauper Spotlight. It is the Black Lotus of Pauper. Oubliette up 62 cents to $38.99. And this, of course, is fantastic in those black control builds. Alright, with that being said, that's the Market Watch for this week. A lot of Commander is promised, and I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. For a number of weeks, I think that Commander Spotlight is going to be pretty stacked. So we'll continue to follow that for you. And until next time, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.